Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I am Precious Nia de Paz, and I will be delivering an informative speech about corruption in our country. First and foremost, let me start with a question. Have you guys ever wondered why our country stays poor despite having so much resources and billions of funds? I hope you guys do so. And one major reason behind this issue is corruption. Corruption is the abuse of power for selfishness and personal gain. Corruption happens when a government officials or people who have the authority use their influence and power dishonestly to take advantage of the helpless and normal citizens of the country for their own benefits instead of serving them. In our country, the Philippines, corruption has long been an issue, and up to these days, it never ended. Rather, it gotten worse. Now, I will discuss what corruption is all about, how it affects our country, and what can we do to help fight against it. First, let us understand how corruption happens in our society. Corruption occurs in many forms. One of the most common is bribery. This is when someone uses money or favors in exchange to do something illegal or unjust. Another is the misuse of public funds, where government money intended for projects and services beneficial for its people are stolen or used improperly. There is also what we call vote buying during elections, where candidates give money or other offers like power in exchange for votes. Favoritism and political connections are also forms of corruption because there are times where opportunities are not given based on qualifications but rather on personal connections. These practices were normalized by others because it had long been existed. But corruption is what hinders and stops one nation's potential to grow. Take our country for example. We have billions of funds and more than enough resources. But why does our country stays the same? Poor, slow, and behind among others. Small acts of dishonesty can contribute to a larger culture of corruption, which is why these practices shouldn't be normalized at all, because when rules are ignored, the public money is abused, and we all suffer the consequences of this. One major effect of corruption is poverty. Money that should have been used for schools, hospitals, infrastructures, and livelihood programs is lost because of corruption. As a result, one nation stays underdeveloped. Some students study in overcrowded classrooms with limited materials, while some patients in public hospitals struggle to receive proper medical care. Roads, bridges, flood control projects, and many other public projects may also remain unfinished or poorly constructed because funds are not fully used for their intended purpose. Corruption weakens and slows down the development of our economy. Investors may hesitate to invest in a country where corruption is widespread because they would be afraid that they'd be stolen as well. This reduces job opportunities and slows down the economic growth. And when government funds are wasted the country struggles to provide better services and programs for its citizens. Another serious effect of corruption is the loss of trust in the government institutions. Many Filipinos become disappointed and frustrated every time they see a public official involved in a corruption issue. Some begin to lose hope and would care less because they think that change would no longer come. Others would even stop participating in elections or community programs because they feel like their voices no longer matter, and that no matter what or how hard they try, the world would never be in their favor. This weakens democracy and creates divisions among citizens. Corruption also affects the youth. Take for example the youths that runs and elected as SK officials. They would see how normalized dishonesty and lack of transparency is, and they believe that it's fine doing the same because the people they see doing it are never punished, but rather even get praised. This mindset is very dangerous because the ones supposed to be the hope of nation are slowly becoming one of the crooks. This destroys the value of integrity, accountability, and responsibility. If corruption continues to exist, it will continuously influence the younger and future generations. And this cycle would never come to an end. Despite these challenges though, corruption can still be reduced if citizens and leaders work together. One important solution is transparency in government. Public officials must be open and accountable regarding how they use public funds. Government transactions and projects should be properly monitored to ensure honesty and fairness. In this way, citizens would know where their money goes and that the government can be trusted. Another solution against corruption is the proper enforcement of law. Corrupt individuals must face the consequences of their actions, regardless their position or status. Because when law is not properly and equally implemented, it would become meaningless. Justice and accountability is important in building public trust. Education also plays a vital role in fighting corruption. Schools should continue to teach children the value of honesty, discipline, and good citizenship. Education provides knowledge, and this knowledge is the key for people to understand better about the world and would learn how and when to step up, especially the young ones. It is important for us to understand that corruption is not just a political issue. It is a moral issue that affects everyone and even our futures. As citizens, we also have responsibilities. It is our responsibility to vote wisely and choose leaders not based on popularity, their influences, and their family background, but rather based on their qualifications, integrity, and platforms. We should also avoid supporting practices such as vote buying and spreading false information. These acts may seem simple, but it creates a long-term and positive impact on every lives of Filipinos. The fight against corruption is not easy, and change would not happen overnight. However, we Filipinos, as citizens of the Philippines, has the power to contribute for a better tomorrow. Real progress begins even with just a bit of step. When people refuse to tolerate dishonesty and starts to demand accountability, change is possible. In conclusion, corruption remains one of the biggest challenges in the Philippines today. It affects the economy, public services, trust in government, and even the values of the youth. While corruption continues to exist, there are still ways to fight against it through transparency, education, responsible leadership, and active citizenship. Our country's future doesn't only depend with power. We, ordinary Filipinos, you, yes, you could contribute and be the reason why and how the mask that hinders our country's richness be removed. If you don't know how, start by being an honest citizen. And if you don't know when, you can actually start as early as now. Filipinos, we are a rich nation, rich in resources, talent, and potential. Yet corruption continues to bury the future we deserve. And it will continue and will remain buried if we choose silence over accountability. For years, Filipinos have been told to survive through resilience. But resilience is not enough when injustice continues to thrive. We have worked long enough. We have suffered long enough. So be angry, be aware, be curious, speak up. Because those who benefit from corruption are hoping that we stay silent, tired, and afraid. But the moment people begin to question, to demand accountability, and to refuse dishonesty, change begins. We have been silenced for far too long. Now is the time to raise our voices. Because if not now, then when? If it's not us, then who? Always remember, if we want to see change in our country, we must first become the change ourselves. Thank you, and mabuhay, Philippines. Ah.